So you're almost 2 years post-split now. Tell us what your #1 message is to customers today as the technology shifts beneath us.
Well, I think there's two very important messages. First is we believe the world is going to be hybrid, and our objective is to make hybrid IT simple. What do I mean by that? I mean applications will be on-prem, off-prem, in the cloud, and each customer has to find the right mix for them. And a lot of customers are rethinking, do they want to put as many applications in the cloud as they had originally thought, because for reasons of price and control, it may be better to keep it on-prem. So we make hybrid IT simple. And then another really big opportunity for customers is the edge. If you think about campus, branch, factory floors, the edge, everything other than your data center is exploding in terms of the need to collect data, compute it, and store it.
There have been a lot of questions about margins in particular. Why is the environment so difficult right now?
Well, our margin in Enterprise Group, which is the major part of the go-forward company, Hewlett Packard Enterprise, was down a little bit in Q2. And the reason is we had stranded costs from our divestitures. We had done some acquisitions that will be initially dilutive. And then, of course, we have significant commodity cost increases. But we anticipate that margin will go back up to historic levels by Q4. And then if we can continue to grow our high margin products and our growth products like Aruba and our all-flash storage arrays and Gen 10, our new server that is the most secure server in the world, then I think you'll see really nice financial performance from us as we finish the year.
What's the strategy to get costs down to help with the margin issue?
Yeah. So we have to really now, we have a much smaller, much more focused company. And I can tell you, I'm probably the only CEO in America that enjoys running a smaller company rather than a bigger company, because it's so much simpler. And we have an overhead cost structure that we've got to get down to be more in line with the new company we run. We've got to re-engineer some processes to make things simple. And that's going to lead us, I think, to be able to take out more cost and be even more cost competitive in a very competitive market. Listen, volume servers, very competitive business. We need to have a more cost-effective cost structure there.
On that note, when we spoke this time last year, you said that Dell was making a big mistake by merging with EMC. That said, HPE stock and growth has been under pressure. Has any of that led you to reconsider whether smaller really is still smarter?
No, so we're really proud of our financial performance and our stock price performance since the split from Hewlett Packard, from HPE Inc. to Hewlett Packard Enterprise. And listen, if you think of the stock price of the company as a whole, which reached the low of $11.62 in the fall of 2012, if you add up HPE Inc., Hewlett Packard Enterprise, our share of CXC, which is now DXC, and our share of the software company, that is close to between $48 and $50 a share. So we've created a lot of shareholder value, and our stock has done very well since we split off from HPE Inc. almost 18 months ago.
When it comes to M&A, does Dell have an advantage, or can they play hardball better because they're private?
Well, listen, there are some advantages to being private, right? But actually Dell, because their debt is publicly traded, we have a window into Dell's financials in much the same way as a public company. They don't get the scrutiny that we do. And we really like our hand. We have no debt on the company. In fact, we have about $6 billion of net cash on the company. We've gotten more strategic and more focused. We're smaller, we're nimbler. And we have dry powder to make acquisitions and make investments, and we can turn on a dime now, which is just a different strategy than Dell. They're getting bigger, we're getting smaller, they're leveraging up the company, we're deleveraging, and we're leaning into new technology, everything software defined and the edge, and they're doubling down on old technology and a cost takeout play. So it's a different strategy. I like our hand.
As you weigh whether to turn on that dime when it comes to M&A, how reasonable are valuations right now?
So they've become a lot more reasonable in the last 6 months. We've made an acquisition almost one a month for the last 6 months. And the valuations are coming down because venture capital is getting a little tighter in Silicon Valley. The willingness to fund ongoing losses for indeterminate amounts of time, that appetite is shrinking a little bit. So we bought SimpliVity right, we bought, I think, Nimble right, we bought Cloud Cruiser right, and they are dead on to our strategy of making hybrid IT simple, powering the intelligent edge, and the services that we need to make it all happen. So we're feeling good about the opportunity to make reasonably priced acquisitions that fit our strategy.
So what are the attractive targets? What areas are of interest on your radar?
Yeah. So we're interested in a number of areas, but first is the software-defined data center. So think about SimpliVity. That is really more a software company than it is an infrastructure company, but it's all around deploying applications easily in a hyper-converged environment. So we're very interested in software-defined. Nimble is software-defined. It's all-flash storage for entry-level and mid-tier. We're also interested in the edge. Obviously, Aruba was an incredible acquisition for us, growing 33%, the wireless part of Aruba, 33% in the last quarter. We're super excited about that. We bought Niara, which is basically, think about it as machine learning for security on the edge network. And so we continue to look at acquisitions at the edge.
You've spun off your enterprise services business, but you're still in services with Point Next. How does the services business evolve?
Yeah, so services is going to be an important part of our mix because every company is trying to take their data center on a transformation journey from an older, brittle, high cost, not particularly flexible or agile environment to the new environment that is so essential for their competitive, their ability to win in the market. And services, people need help on that journey. So while we will not do IT outsourcing or business process outsourcing or apps maintenance, we will do advise and transform, and that's what Point Next is. So we think it's an important part of the business. The other part of our business is the ecosystem of partners. Here at Discover in Las Vegas, we have the biggest presence of partners, SIs, ISVs, that we've had in many, many years. So we've got a lot of folks here anxious now to do business with us because they don't view us as having an asset that is competitive to what they do. So we are still very focused with DXC technology, but we got a whole bunch of players who are really interested in doing business with us now, and that's great.
Now, Meg, there's always great fascination around what your future holds. How long do you plan to continue running things at HPE?
Yeah, so I love what I am doing. I have to say, now being head of a smaller, more nimble, faster moving company makes this a lot of fun. And so I love what I'm doing, and I've got more work to do. We've still got another phase in our journey to make HPE everything that it can be. So I'm here until my work is done.
So what is that more work? What more work do you feel you have to do?
So we now have to take this very focused company called Hewlett Packard Enterprise, and we have to make sure we've got a cost structure that allows us to compete in the marketplace. We've still got a little bit too much overhead on this company because we had an overhead that oversaw a $110 billion company. We've got to take more cost out of that. We've got to redesign some of our systems. We've got to redesign some of our processes to be more appropriate for a smaller, more nimble company. So we've got some more cost takeout to do, and we've got a lot of innovation coming to market, and I want to make sure that innovation lands well, like our Gen 10 server, which is getting rave reviews at this show, it is the most secure server in the world, and everyone knows security is one of the big issues facing every IT department.
You urged President Trump not to pull out of the Paris Climate Accord along with other business leaders. Hours later, he pulled out. How does that impact your relationship with the president?
Well, listen, as you know, I was on the other side. As a lifelong Republican, I endorsed Hillary Clinton. But once President Trump won, I said to our employees, I wrote a note that said, you know what? President Trump has won, we need to give him the benefit of the doubt. And so we are giving him the benefit of the doubt. But when we think that there is something that is not in our best interest or the country's best interest, I'll speak out. So I said, listen, I thought we ought to stay in the Paris Climate Accord. The next generation of industries around clean energy and others is an important thing for the United States of America. So it doesn't impact our relationship. People can disagree, and we happen to disagree on this particular issue.
Tim Cook also told me that he thinks the president decided wrong on Paris, but plans to keep an open dialogue because he thinks it's important for America, important for the company. What is your strategy, and what are the number one things on your priority list when it comes to discussions with the White House?
Yeah. So listen, we are in favor of tax reform. We think the ability to repatriate cash overseas at a much lower tax rate is important. We think a lower corporate tax rate would spur growth in the United States. On the other hand, we are not for the border adjustment tax. That's very difficult for companies that import a high degree of their cost of goods sold and work on relatively low margins. So the retailers, a lot of the technology companies, we think that's not in our best interest, and by extension, in the best interest of the United States. So we just make it clear where we stand on issues, very respectful, civil discussion, and that's what this country was built on, the ability for civil discourse and the ability to disagree without being angry.